Are you good at negotiating your salary? So for myself, I do know that this is a topic that is not coming easy to me. And indeed, I launched a little survey on my Instagram channel Firm Learning, and a big majority of you confirmed that. You are saying that no, you do not feel like you are especially great at negotiating your salary. Salary negotiation is the topic that we are going to talk about today. Welcome to another coffee break here on my channel Firm Learning. My name is Heinrich, and on my channel I want to help you to become successful in the first years of your career. To provide you the very best insights on this topic, I partnered with a good friend of mine for this video, and this is Jens. I met Jens at McKinsey in the Munich office. He's also a former McKinsey consultant. Later he transitioned to Amazon and worked there as a buyer for several years. Later then he worked at Palantir Technologies, and now he recently co-founded a health tech startup. So we're going to tackle this now in the following way. First, Jens will talk a little bit about why it's so important to regularly negotiate your salary. Then second, I will talk about specifically salary raises, so what you can do if you're already in a job and then want to increase your salary within your current role. And then last, Jens will share some thoughts on value creation, on how you can jointly create value with your employer in a salary negotiation. But the best thing is that Jens and I recreated a full online course on salary negotiation. The videos that you're now seeing are just little snippets, little excerpts of the whole course. So if this topic interests you and like to see more from us on it, check out the link to this new course in the video description. The course launched this week, so it really is brand new, and we are very much looking forward to what you think about it. So now without further ado, let's jump into it.
The importance of salary negotiation is really underestimated by most people. In this video, we're going to show you exactly why it is so important to consistently negotiate your salary. First of all, it really matters for your lifetime earnings. It makes a huge difference, and research has shown that people who consistently negotiate their salary over their entire lifetime earn about $1 million more throughout their entire career. Let's start with getting more. I want to show you a simple theoretical graph that illustrates how salary negotiations really impact your salary and how it increases your earnings over your entire lifetime. In this case example, we have two fictional people. Christian, who does not negotiate his salary. So for him, I assumed a 1% increase, basically in line with inflation over each year. On the other hand, there's Theodore. He negotiates his salary every 3 years, and he achieves a 5% average negotiation success, which is really in line with what you can expect. By the end of his career, Theodore will earn about $140,000 each year, while Christian will be stuck at roughly $80,000. So this is already a huge difference. If you add up all the years where Theodore earns more and more money than Christian, throughout that entire career, the difference is enormous. In this case example, it's about $1.2 million. I've oversimplified this, obviously, but it really proves the point how important it is to not be afraid of negotiating your salary. Usually, your employer will respect you more if you ask what you are worth.
So the one thing is to freshly negotiate your salary once you get a new job. But the other thing is, once you're already in the job, then also to be able to negotiate regular raises. And this is the topic that we are going to talk about in this section. And in this first lecture, I want to talk about what is realistic. What can you ask for a raise? Because this is indeed the question that at least I get most frequently when I discuss this topic with friends and colleagues. And here it often helps to really argue with some data. So in this lecture, I want to help you by providing a little orientation, some points of data that might help you to guide this discussion. And the first thing to be aware of is, of course, the inflation rate measured by the Consumer Price Index. This measures how much prices increase on average for the consumer in every single year. Of course, these values differ significantly country by country, so you should take this into consideration depending on your geography that you work in. So pulling some data for Germany Germany, you can see here that the values pretty much fluctuate between 1 and 2% per year. And this is exactly the average that you can expect for most developed countries. So 1 to 2% per year annual consumer price inflation. So make sure to research this value for your country. The index might be called a bit differently. There might be different indices measuring concepts like this as well for your country. So look it up. In a second, similar index that might be helpful here is the labor cost index that shows you how much on average the price for labor, so the salaries in a country, have gone up over time. And often these values are more or less similar. In some countries the one might be higher than the other, but here again, if on average salaries go up by 2% every year, this as well can give you a certain indication of what you should target. Though of course you should not really be happy with just getting a salary on the level of inflation, because if you exactly meet the inflation number, you do not really have a salary increase. It's just the fact that now you can buy next year as much things with your money as last year. Or to put it differently, if you not even manage to get a salary raise that meets inflation, you will lose purchasing power. You pretty much lose value of your money year on year. And for these reasons, compensation for inflation should pretty much be the minimum amount that you ask for and that you get when you go into these conversations. So if this is the one end of the spectrum, then what is the other hand of the spectrum? And just to give you a ballpark figure here, one number that you can expect to receive if you work in a so-called accelerated career environment, such as consulting or banking, is roughly an average of a salary increase of 10% per year. So I'd argue that there are only very few careers, very few roles where you can get a long-term average salary increase of more than 10% per year. So aim for these 10% in these very high-paced accelerated career environments. Though of course there's a reason that these people get this type of money. Of course in these jobs often need to work a lot. The performance pressure on you is quite significant. So if you are in a more general standard 9 to 5 corporate job, probably this is a bit high and should be then adjusted to a bit of a lower number. So 1 to 2%, this is the minimum that you should get. This is also actually what some companies provide just by themselves as a yearly inflation compensation to their employees. And then on top of that, you should ask for an increase that is up to 10% based on the type of career that you're in. And of course here the importance is also to see this as a long-term average. So it's absolutely okay to maybe 1 year not get that much of a raise. If then after 2 years, after 3 years, you get an even higher salary increase, maybe if you step up to the next higher position. But make sure that on average, these are the targets that you can achieve.
Welcome to this section in which we will talk about how to increase the overall value for both sides on the table. This concept is called value creation in negotiations, and it's a very important concept that you can also apply to salary negotiations. So far, we've really simplified the salary negotiation and only talked about your total compensation as $1 figure. But actually, there are many different elements that make up your total compensation, and you can make clever use of these different elements to create value in the negotiation. It is really a common trap or mistake people make in salary negotiations because they simplify the many different elements into $1 figure, and this way they go heads on with their employer instead of thinking about clever and nuanced ways to create value. The key insight here is the following. You should aim to negotiate for salary components that are worth more to you and worth less to your employer. By this way, you can basically create value. This will enable you to grow your total compensation by a lot. Your employer might be bound by certain salary bands that are very specific to your role. And maybe you just barely missed the qualification for a more senior role that would also have a different salary range, of course. In this case, you can try to negotiate for a much faster review of your current role and your promotion. This gives you a much faster runway to the next promotion and therefore a much faster access to a higher salary. Another example would be, maybe you want a different job title because you know that if you switch jobs, it will give you a much better salary range. This will actually cost your current employer nothing, if they can defend it against other employees, of course. But it could be worth a lot to you. To give you some ideas of salary components that you can negotiate for and that other people have negotiated for, I will now show you a brief overview. Besides the overall component, of course, your annual cash compensation, you can negotiate for vacation days. You can negotiate for a sign-on bonus in case you're switching to a new employer. Other common types of compensation components can be your relocation coverage. It could be a tuition allowance, your job title, as we discussed in the previous example. It could be the early review. It could be a company car or maybe a mobility budget. Or in case of particular smaller companies or startups, maybe you can negotiate for a visa package or an equity option package that gives you a really strong incentive in the long run to stay with the company, which is also, of course, interesting to your employer. You can really extend this list to many other elements. I've shown some here on this slide. Maybe if you already are a father or a mother, you can negotiate for childcare support, a parental leave, or maybe for other people, a wellness or fitness program. Just look through all the components I'm showing you here on this slide and get creative. You will find that by opening new opportunities for your employer to compensate you in some sort of way, be it monetary or in case of job titles, giving you future possibilities and future options, you can really create a lot of value for yourself in the negotiation. As you're preparing for your next negotiation, write down the different salary components that would be relevant for your negotiation now.
We hope that you got value out of this video, and if it is the case, please hit the like button for the YouTube algorithm and also subscribe to my channel to stay up to date on all my content. If you want to continue your learning journey with Firm Learning, I will link above here a video on problem solving. Really one of the key consulting skills. Check it out to continue learning. And if you like the topic of salary negotiation, please again check out the link to the full course that we created on this topic in the video description. If you want to see more from me, also follow me on my Instagram. My handle is Firm Learning, or sign up to the mailing list, link in the video description. And I also want to say thank you to all the members of Firm Learning. Your support is very much appreciated, and check out the join button if you are interested to become a member as well. This is Heinrich from Firm Learning. I'm releasing new videos every single Saturday, so stay tuned for next Saturday. Happy Easter to all of you. Cheers and bye bye.